Hey Patriots, welcome to Patriot Life with Candace Keller. It's great to see you back again today. Don't forget our motto, enough talk, enough tyranny. Get involved, get educated, or get out of the way. So we are glad to be back with you again today. I have a reminder to you to please check out our website, patriotamerica76.com. Email me at patriotamerica76@gmail.com if you have any questions, and I'll try to answer them for you. And you can order materials from me by sending me an email. I'm happy to do that for you. We have a new package, a Patriot package that we're sending out to you. It's $35. And we're including in the package the Doctrine of the Lesser Magistrate book by Matt Trewhella, my friend. This is a 69-page book that will change your life, that will teach you why government is working from the ground up and how you can get involved and change your community. It's totally doable. And it's time for the regular guy to start running for public office and taking control, because clearly we cannot trust the politicians that we now have in place. And I should know this as a former member of the Ohio legislature. I served in the legislature for 4.5 years under 4 speakers. 3 of them are or were under FBI investigation for corruption. So I do know what that looks like from the inside. We'll also send you an Ohio Constitution. We will also send you this terrific book that I highly recommend by Sun Tzu, The Art of War. It's a great book for anybody to read, but particularly those of you who are veterans will understand that we are at war for the heart and soul of our nation right now, and we are fighting against tyranny. And we're also going to include our packet of cards. We've got a U.S. Constitution in here for you, along with all of the narratives and the reading material that you will need to face down and speak before your school board, your city council, your township trustees, or your county commissioners. They all need to be met with weekly by large crowds of the regular people, because you're the ones who put them there. They don't want to see you, but you need to be there. Even if you don't say anything, showing up is very effective. So we will send all of this to you for just a donation of $35. Everything that you send to us, of course, goes into printing more and more cards. We have given away or sold over 50,000 of these cards that have the law on them regarding illegal face masks, mandates, and illegal forced vaccinations, and what the law says about those things. So that is your tool to victory. We want to raise up fighters. So we've had a lot of questions recently about forced vaccinations in the workplace. Many of you are facing this battle, and my heart goes out to you. I'm particularly proud of the healthcare community for standing their ground. And 2 weeks ago right now, our governor, all 6 major networks, hospital networks in the state of Ohio, were ordered that the workers there had to be vaccinated in order to be employed. This came as a total shock to me that the healthcare workers were refusing in large numbers. I heard one of the networks had over 6,000 employees that were refusing to do this. I think the governor thought you were going to lay down and take it, and you're not going to do that, because you get to make your own health decisions. That's why we support House Bill 248, the Medical Freedom Bill, and that will set you free. Once our legislature passes it, and it is 100% their responsibility to protect you right now, and they're not doing that. They're on vacation still. So next time we're together, I'm going to have Ohio House Rep Jennifer Gross with me. She's going to talk about the bill and the obstacles that she has faced and why it's so important that we have medical freedom set forth in Ohio. At any rate, I get a lot of questions about exemptions. Your employer is asking for either a medical exemption or a religious exemption. And I felt long and hard about this. It's, of course, your decision to do what you want to do. I'm not an attorney. But I know that if I were in your position, I don't understand why an employer believes that they have any right to know about either your health or certainly not your religion. Certainly not your religion. Now, I'm an employer myself. I am not allowed to ask anyone at work, are you pregnant? Do you believe in God? Where do you go to church? What's your doctrine? What'd you have for dinner last night? Personal matters fall under the right to privacy that you were born with and that is protected by the Constitution. So when I first heard that people were needing religious exemptions, I thought there was something very unsettling to me about that. First of all, this is totally an attack on the church. You know it is. The end game with communism seeping into our country like manure is to shut down the church, because when you know God, you know about freedom, and communism is not about freedom. It's about taking your freedom. And so they don't like religion. And so my question is, for those of you that are seeking religious exemption, if I were a pastor, I really wouldn't be so all-fired anxious to do a religious exemption. For one thing, these people have no respect for religion anyway. They hate the church, they hate God. And what I would like to know is, who are these people who are sitting around a table determining whether your religious exemption is acceptable or not? What are their qualifications and what are their credentials? There's a question for you to ask right there. Bunch of yahoos sitting around a table. Why are they getting to, because they're saying to people, we may or may not accept your religious exemption. That right there should be a huge red flag if I were you. Now, you can do one if you like. Perhaps you can use it when you sue for wrongful termination. But I was reading an article by Fritz Mastrite, and in it he says, asking for or claiming an exemption is really asking for permission to be recognized or accepted by a group of people that are being run by the government at the government's benefit. Asking permission indicates that you are submissive and you're surrendering your unalienable rights, and you are putting yourself in a lower position of servitude. Do you see what I mean with this? So I find it that this was not the intention of our founders. In fact, we were supposed to be a nation led by the people and not by the government, and certainly not by employers that have no business asking intrusive questions. When I was given the 6-page religious exemption inquiry, I think it came from Kettering Hospital Network, I was absolutely horrified at the personal questions asked by a hospital network. I can't imagine who their attorney is, but I think he needs to go back to law school because that's completely illegal. I can't imagine that any person would look at that and think, well, I guess I better fill this out or I'm going to lose my job. Now, we have available to you, and I'll send this to you. We'll just stick it in with your package if you want to order it from us. First of all, there's a notice of liability you need to give to any of these people, asking them, if I get vaccinated, are you going to cover me if I go on unemployment or disability? What's the plan here? And if I die, what's the company death policy like? There's 13 questions and when this is available on our website, it's the employer questionnaire. We also have one for the universities. Look, I was the chairwoman of higher education at the Ohio State House for my last term. Do you know what goes on college campuses? Do you know the indiscriminate partying, drinking, sex, etc. that goes on continuously and has never stopped during this virus? And now all of a sudden they think that social distancing, do they honestly think that college students are obeying these rules by staying apart? They're not doing that. And a vaccination is not going to be anything that's going to cause them to be any more protected than they've ever been. So again, it's a total invasion of privacy. So Patriot America, along with our team of attorneys, created our own exemption letter signed by you personally. You don't need a pastor. You don't need your doctors are not going to do it anyway. They're already opting out because they don't want to be held liable if something comes up. And this puts you in a terrible position. I'm so sorry that that's the way it is. But this is what tyranny is like. This is why you have to rise up and fight. And we will prevail. I'm telling you, we are more than they are. We are mightier than they are. So here's the religious exemption letter, or the exemption letter that we wrote. Exempt is exempt. And pretty soon they're going to head to a place where they don't accept exemptions at all. But this should suffice for now. I am exempt from any forced vaccinations and requested information regarding personal religious exemption based upon the following law. Ohio Constitution, Article 2, Section 1B states to be considered an emergency measure, a law must explicitly state that it is being passed as an emergency measure and must receive a 2/3 vote in each house. The determination of whether a law is an emergency is within the sole discretion of the legislature and is not subject to judicial review. Remember, the judiciary is the weakest arm of government, the weakest. Therefore, no public health emergency has been presently declared in Ohio. I don't know any state that has done this. Both our Ohio and U.S. constitutions protect the rights of workers and promotes their welfare. The U.S. Constitution, Article 4, states the right of the people to be secure in their persons, their houses, their papers. Your vaccination papers are private. And effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by the oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. This is a Fourth Amendment violation of the law that they're discussing, your employer is discussing. A person's religious preferences are private and cannot be demanded or seized by any government authority. Frivolous requests for such information are invasive and outside the boundaries of authority of any employer or governmental agency. Company and or store policy is always superseded by the law. Therefore, are not held to a higher standard than the Ohio Constitution and the Ohio Revised Code and are null and void. The Ohio Bill of Rights, Article 1, Section 7, indicates that any interference with the rights of conscience that demand the filling out of a form is an interference and intrusion into the rights of conscience, which are guaranteed in the Ohio Constitution. And I need to interject this right here. Rights of conscience was a huge law argument some years ago in Ohio, a very messy bunch of cases and arguments made, and rights of conscience prevailed. In Ohio, we take it very seriously. If your conscience stands against something, you have a right to that. So pursuant to FDA 21 U.S. Code Section 360B, medical products granted for EUA, and I don't care what they say about approval right now, nothing is guaranteed safe at this point, 100%. May not be made compulsory. Such products may only be administered in a voluntary fashion and only after fully informed consent. That's very, very important. Thus, mandates of experimental COVID-19, quote, vaccines, or the use of any pressure or coercion to consent to them violates federal law. Federal law. Businesses who threaten employees without freedom of choice are liable for damages according to the FDA approval process. Additionally, the Ohio Revised Code 134710 states a person who is harmed by the use of personal information that relates to him and that is maintained in a personal information system may recover damages in a civil action from any person who directly and proximately caused the harm by doing any of the following: intentionally using or disclosing the personal information in a manner prohibited by law. Now, you know as well as I do, nothing is private at this point. Your information is floating out on the internet all over creation, and you know it. You know it's true. So the law is very clear on these things. You don't need to make a bunch of excuses to your employer going on and on about the virus and the vaccination, any of that stuff. The law is all that matters. And this exemption closes with these words: intrusion into personal religious freedom, medical history, or other matters covered under the Ohio Constitution and the Ohio Revised Code's right to privacy laws is against the law. Forced termination of employment due to such a violation shall be dealt with in a court of law and is a violation of right to privacy, violation of freedom of religion, and freedom of speech. These rights are guaranteed and protected under the Ohio Constitution and the Ohio Revised Code. This is all you need to give to your employer. Don't quit your job. I would say to them, here's my exemption. Wait till the very last minute to give it to them, because you never know what's going to change between now and whatever the deadline is. Give them the exemption and say, I'm not quitting. And I'm not getting vaccinated if you don't want to be vaccinated. The ball is in your court. If they terminate you, remember, in the state of Ohio, it's completely legal to tape record people without their knowledge. I would tape record every meeting you have with HR. Stick your phone in your pocket, turn it on, tape record every word they say to you. You may never need it, but it doesn't hurt to have it. And I would say, you're going to terminate me? That's fine. I need in writing why you're terminating me so that I can turn this over to my lawyer for wrongful termination. And you know what? They don't know if you have a lawyer or not, but there's a boatload of class action lawsuits going on right now that you can become a part of that cost you very little, if anything. And you need to let them know that as much as they dig their heels in, you are also doing likewise, because this is your job. You've given your life to this place. Their lack of respect for you and your service to the healthcare facility where you work or the school or any place you work is beyond reprehensible. And so I want to close with that information, and I thank you for joining me. Please email me. Consider purchasing our packet here. It has everything. I'll put this and everything I have in there with it. Email me at patriotamerica76@gmail.com. I'll get this into the mail to you right away. $35 is about what it cost us to do it. And get on our website, Patriot America 76. You can print off this exemption letter. You can print off a lot of the stuff that I just showed you. We're trying to keep everything as transparent and out there for you as easy as possible for you to print it out yourself. So I will see you next time with State Rep Jennifer Gross, the author of House Bill 248, the Medical Freedom Bill. And thanks for joining me on Patriot Life. Hang tough.